Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Right.
We're diving deep today into something that might not sound super exciting at first, but I promise it's really interesting. Canadian charity tax filing. And specifically those T3010 returns that I know can be a bit of a headache sometimes.
Well, they're definitely important, and actually they give us a pretty fascinating look into how charities in Canada operate and the kind of scrutiny they face.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Right.
we're basing this deep dive today on a great article from the B.I.G. Charity Law Group. It's called Tips on Avoiding Mistakes When Filing Your Charity's T3010 Return. And the first thing that really stood out to me was that June 30th deadline.
Oh, yeah.
For most charities to get all their financials in order.
Yeah, it's a hard deadline.
It is. What happens, though, if a charity's been inactive during the year? Do they?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
And you might be surprised by the answer. Even inactive charities are required to file.
Oh, wow.
It's not just about reporting activities. It's about showing they're still in compliance and maintaining their registered status.
That's a nuance I hadn't thought about before. Why is it so important to the Canadian government to keep track of even inactive charities?
Well, if you think about the bigger picture, it's about maintaining transparency and public trust. The CRA wants to make sure that all registered charities are accountable, regardless of how active they are right now, and that they're fulfilling their obligations.
So it's about keeping a high standard across the board,
Exactly.
even for charities that might be temporarily on pause.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Now, the article also goes into another important distinction between charitable activities and fundraising.
Right. And that can be tricky sometimes.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. Imagine you have a charity that's all about environmental conservation.
Okay.
So the actual work they do, like planting trees, cleaning up polluted areas, or advocating for policy change, those are the charitable activities, right?
Yeah.
The heart of what they do.
Right.
But then to support all those activities, they might host fundraising galas or run online donation campaigns or even sell merchandise. Yeah.
And those are the fundraising activities, the way they get the money to do the charitable stuff.
Okay, so like the fuel and the journey.
Exactly.
Why does this distinction matter so much when it comes to the T3010 return?
Well, the CRA is really interested in those core charitable activities. They want to see exactly how a charity is using its resources to actually do what it says it's going to do, going beyond just how much money they bring in.
So it's not just about the bottom line, it's about showing tangible impact.
Exactly.
Which makes sense considering those tax benefits charities get. You got to prove they're walking the walk, not just talking the talk. The article also stresses how important accuracy is on those forms.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to signatures and, all those specific bits of information.
All the details matter.
It seems like even small mistakes could have big consequences.
Definitely. Even little things like a missing signature or the wrong date of birth or a missing postal code, those can raise red flags for the CRA. So it's super important to pay attention to all those details when you're filling out the T3010.
It's almost like one of those really complicated instruction manuals where you think, does it really matter if I skip step 3?
Right.
But in this case, every line, every signature carries weight.
Exactly.
Why is that level of precision so crucial for the CRA?
Well, the T3010 is a legal document, right? And the CRA has to make sure it's accurate. Any inaccuracies can mean penalties or audits.
Oh, wow.
Or in serious cases, even revoking a charity's registration.
So it's serious business.
Yeah, it's about upholding the law and making sure the whole system is fair and transparent.
That definitely raises the stakes. It's a good reminder for anyone who's filling out these forms
For sure.
that they're not just dealing with paperwork, they're dealing with a legal document that reflects their organization's commitment to transparency and compliance.
Absolutely.
So let's say a charity is ready to file. What options do they have? The article mentioned both snail mail and digital filing, and it seems like the CRA has a preference.
Yeah, they definitely prefer electronic filing.
Okay.
Through their online portals. It's much faster, more secure, and there's less chance of making a mistake.
Right.
But they do still accept paper filings for those who prefer that.
I can see the appeal of a physical copy,
Yeah,
but for anyone who's short on time, the digital route seems much better.
for sure.
Now let's move on to something that sounds a bit more complicated. Schedule 6.
Yeah, that's when things get a bit more interesting.
It does. It sounds like a whole new level of complexity.
It is. Schedule 6 comes into play when a charity meets certain criteria. Like if they have a lot of revenue or own property or are allowed to accumulate funds.
Okay.
It requires much more detailed financial reporting to give a really comprehensive picture of the charity's finances.
So it's like leveling up in a game, right?
Exactly.
Where the stakes are higher and the challenges are greater. When it comes to Schedule 6, what are some of the key things charities need to be super careful about?
Well, accuracy in reporting revenue is crucial. And it's not just about the total amount. You have to break it down by source, detailing donations, government funding, investment income, and so on.
Okay.
The CRA wants to understand where all the money is coming from.
It's like comparing a diverse investment portfolio to one that's just relying on a single stock.
Exactly.
A balanced approach to funding probably means more stability and independence for a charity.
Absolutely.
Are there any other areas where charities need to be extra careful when it comes to Schedule 6?
Yeah, property holdings are another big one. Charities need to declare the value of any real estate investments or other assets they own,
Okay.
and show that those assets are being managed responsibly and are actually being used to help them achieve their charitable purpose.
So, like if a charity owns a building or a piece of land,
Right.
they need to disclose that along with any investments they might have.
Exactly.
Transparency is key here,
Absolutely.
showing that those assets are actively helping them further their mission.
Mm-hmm. And remember, the CRA isn't just looking at 1 year. They look at trends over time to see if a charity is consistently being responsible with its assets.
That's a good point. It's a reminder that financial transparency isn't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing commitment
Okay.
that shows a charity is dedicated to being accountable and maintaining public trust.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've talked about revenue and property holdings, but there's another part of Schedule 6 that often raises questions. Accumulated funds. Can you explain what that means?
Sure. Accumulated funds are basically the money a charity has beyond what it needs for its day-to-day expenses. Some charities are allowed to accumulate funds maybe for future projects or investments,
Right.
or to have a safety net in case times get tough.
It's like having a rainy day fund for the charity.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing that permission to accumulate funds doesn't come without conditions.
You're right.
Yeah.
The CRA wants to make sure that those funds are being managed well and are being used for legitimate charitable purposes.
Makes sense.
So charities have to provide detailed reasons why they're accumulating funds, what they plan to use the money for, and show that they're not just hoarding wealth.
So it's about finding a balance between being financially prudent and actually using the resources you have.
Exactly.
Now, for charities that have to deal with Schedule 6, it can feel a bit overwhelming,
I can imagine.
all those complexities and potential pitfalls. What advice would you give to those who are feeling a bit lost?
Well, first of all, don't panic. The CRA has a ton of information and resources to help charities through the T3010 process,
Okay.
including specific guidance on Schedule 6. Their website is a great place to start.
Like having a map and compass to guide you through unfamiliar territory?
Exactly.
But sometimes even with a map, you might need someone to guide you along the way. Are there other resources available to charities?
Absolutely. There are lots of accountants and lawyers who specialize in charity law. They can provide expert guidance on filing the T3010, especially the tricky parts of Schedule 6.
That makes sense.
Don't hesitate to get professional help if you need it, especially if your charity has complicated finances or a lot of assets or accumulated funds.
It's like having a Sherpa guide you up Mount Everest. You wouldn't attempt that alone, would you?
Definitely not.
Schedule 6 can feel just as daunting for some charities.
I understand.
Having expert on your side can make all the difference.
Absolutely. And remember, getting professional advice isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're being responsible. It shows you're committed to making sure your charity is financially healthy and following the rules, so you can focus on actually fulfilling your mission.
That's great advice. Now, beyond getting professional help, are there any other practical things charities can do to make sure they're accurate and compliant with the T3010, whether or not they have to deal with Schedule 6?
Yeah, one of the most important things is to keep really good financial records all year round. Remember, the T3010 is based on your fiscal year.
Right.
So trying to put everything together at the last minute is just going to lead to mistakes and stress.
It's like trying to cram for a final exam.
Exactly.
You might pass, but you're not really learning anything.
And in this case, failing the test can have much bigger consequences than just a bad grade.
Right. So how can charities develop good record-keeping habits?
Well, you need a system for keeping track of all your income and expenses. Make sure you keep all your receipts and documentation organized,
Yeah.
and reconcile your bank statements regularly. That will make filing the T3010 so much easier.
It's like building good financial hygiene into your charity's operations from the very beginning.
Exactly.
What other proactive steps can charities take to avoid those last-minute scrambles and potential problems?
Another crucial thing is to really understand the specific requirements and guidelines for each part of the T3010. We talked earlier about the difference between charitable activities and fundraising activities.
Right.
It's crucial to report those accurately
Hmm.
and provide clear descriptions that match the CRA's definitions.
So it's not just about the numbers, it's about using the right language
Exactly.
and making sure the information you provide meets the CRA's expectations.
Mhm. And if you're not sure about something or something seems unclear, don't hesitate to ask the CRA or a charity law expert for clarification.
Okay.
They're there to help. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
It's like having a lifeline on a game show.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's better to ask for help than risk getting the answer wrong. Now, besides meticulous record keeping and understanding the guidelines, what other tips can help charities avoid those last-minute panics and potential problems?
Double-checking everything before you submit the T3010 is essential. Go over all the information carefully, make sure all the signatures are there,
Okay.
and double-check that all the calculations are correct. It's surprising how easy it is to miss a small mistake, but those oversights can have big consequences.
It's like proofreading an important email before you hit send.
Exactly.
You want to make sure everything is perfect before you send it out
Absolutely.
because it represents your charity.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of sending, make sure you file the T3010 on time. Remember that June 30th deadline we talked about? You don't want to miss it because you could end up with late filing penalties.
Right.
And it could even put your charity's good standing at risk.
Absolutely.
It's a hard deadline. That can't be ignored. Well, we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive. We've talked about the specifics of Schedule 6 and gone over some practical tips for making sure your T3010 is accurate and compliant. But there's still one more important aspect we need to talk about. And that's the CRA's approach to regulating charities and what it means for the sector as a whole.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the T3010.
Yeah.
We've been really getting into the nitty-gritty of this tax return and how it affects Canadian charities. And I think one thing that's becoming clear
Oh, yeah.
is that when it comes to Schedule 6, the devil really is in the details.
You got that right. It's
Yeah.
really the ultimate test of a charity's transparency when it comes to finances and accountability.
It's like the CRA is piecing together a financial puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Examining each piece to make sure it fits within the big picture of the charity's mission and how they operate.
Now, for charities that are dealing with Schedule 6, what are some of the traps they should watch out for?
Well, one common mistake is not providing enough detail.
Okay.
For example, when you're reporting revenue, just putting down the total amount isn't enough.
Right?
Charities need to clearly show where all that revenue came from,
Okay.
whether it's from donations, sponsorships, government grants, or even investment income.
So it's about providing context and being transparent.
Exactly.
Going beyond just the numbers themselves, why is this level of detail so important for the CRA?
It helps them assess the charity's funding model.
Hmm.
Is it sustainable? Is it independent?
Okay.
For example, if a charity relies too much on government grants, they might be in trouble if that funding dries up.
That's a good point.
But a charity that has a mix of different revenue sources,
Yeah.
like donations, corporate partnerships, and other things,
Right.
that shows they're more financially resilient and stable.
It's like the difference between a stool with one leg and a stool with multiple legs. The more diverse the funding, the stronger the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So beyond revenue, what other areas in Schedule 6 need a lot of attention?
Well, property holdings are another big one. Charities need to give a full accounting of any real estate investments or other assets they own,
Okay.
including their current market value.
So if a charity owns a building that's mostly used for administrative purposes,
Yeah.
that needs to be stated clearly, along with any rental income it might generate,
Right.
or if they have a bunch of investments.
Mm-hmm.
Those details need to be laid out very carefully,
Absolutely.
showing that they're managing those assets responsibly
Exactly.
and in a way that aligns with the charity's goals.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to remember that the CRA isn't just looking for compliance in a single year. They look at trends over time
Oh, okay.
to see if a charity is consistently being responsible.
That's a good point. It's a reminder that financial transparency isn't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing commitment to being accountable and building public trust. Now, we've talked about revenue and property, but there's another element of Schedule 6 that often causes confusion. Accumulated funds.
Right.
Can you shed some light on that?
Sure. Accumulated funds are basically the money a charity has that it doesn't need right away for its operating expenses. Some charities are allowed to accumulate funds.
Okay.
maybe for future projects or investments, or just to have a cushion in case things get tough.
So like a savings account for a rainy day.
Exactly.
But I'm assuming there are some strings attached to this permission to accumulate funds.
Of course, the CRA wants to be sure that the money is being managed responsibly
Mm-hmm.
and that it's being used for legitimate charitable purposes.
That makes sense.
So charities have to provide detailed explanations for why they're accumulating funds,
Okay.
what they plan to do with the money, and prove that they're not just hoarding wealth.
So it's about finding a balance between being financially savvy
Yeah,
and actually putting those resources to work.
absolutely.
For charities facing Schedule 6, it can feel like navigating a financial minefield.
I bet.
All the details and potential traps. What advice would you give to those who are feeling overwhelmed?
Well, first of all, take a deep breath and don't panic. The CRA has a ton of resources to help charities understand the T3010, including specific guidance on Schedule 6. Their website is a great place to start.
So it's like having a map to guide you through unfamiliar territory.
Exactly.
But sometimes, even with a map, you still need a guide. Are there other types of support available to charities?
For sure, there are many accountants and lawyers who specialize in charity law.
Okay.
They can offer expert advice on filing the T3010 and especially on the complexities of Schedule 6.
So if your charity has complicated finances or a lot of assets or accumulated funds,
Right.
it's worth getting professional help.
Definitely. It's like having a Sherpa guide you up Mount Everest.
Yeah.
You wouldn't try to do that alone, would you?
Not a chance.
And for some charities, Schedule 6 can feel just as daunting.
Definitely.
Having an expert on your side can make a world of difference.
And it's not a sign of weakness to seek professional advice.
Absolutely not. It's actually a sign of responsibility.
It shows that you're committed to your charity's financial health and that you're taking compliance seriously.
Exactly. So you can focus on your mission.
That's great advice. Now, aside from professional guidance, what are some practical steps charities can take to ensure accuracy and compliance with the T3010 with or without Schedule 6?
One of the most important things is to keep thorough financial records all year round.
Okay.
Don't wait until tax time to try to piece everything together. Remember, the T3010 is based on your fiscal year.
Right.
Trying to reconstruct your financial activity at the last minute is a recipe for errors and stress.
It's like cramming for an exam you might pass, but you won't retain the information.
Exactly.
And in this case, failing the test can have much bigger consequences than just a bad grade.
Absolutely.
So how can charities develop good record-keeping habits?
You need a system for tracking all your income and expenses.
Oh.
Keep all your receipts and documentation organized. And make sure you're reconciling your bank statements regularly.
So basically building good financial hygiene into your charity's day-to-day operations.
Exactly.
And what other proactive steps can charities take to avoid those last-minute scrambles and potential pitfalls?
Make sure you really understand the specific requirements and guidelines for each section of the T3010. We talked earlier about the difference between charitable activities and fundraising activities.
Right.
It's super important to report those accurately and to provide clear descriptions that match the CRA's definitions.
It's not just about the numbers, it's about using the right language.
Exactly.
And presenting information in a way that the CRA expects.
Right. And if you're ever unsure about something or if something seems unclear,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to ask the CRA or a charity law expert for clarification.
It's always better to be safe than sorry. Like
Okay.
having a lifeline on a game show. Sometimes it's better to ask for help than risk getting the answer wrong. Now, beyond keeping good records and understanding the guidelines, what other tips can you offer to help charities avoid those last-minute panics and potential problems?
Double-check everything before you submit the T3010. Seriously, go over all the information carefully,
Okay.
make sure all the signatures are there, and double-check all the calculations. It's amazing how easy it is to overlook a simple error, but those oversights can have big consequences.
It's like proofreading an important email before you hit send.
Exactly.
You want to make sure everything is perfect before you send it out into the world.
Absolutely.
Because it represents your charity.
Right.
Speaking of sending, make sure you file the T3010 on time. Remember that June 30th deadline?
Oh, yeah.
Don't miss it. Missing the deadline can lead to late filing penalties, and it could even jeopardize your charity's good standing.
Absolutely.
It's a hard deadline that can't be ignored. So we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive. We've gone in-depth on Schedule 6 and explored practical tips for making sure your T3010 is accurate and compliant. But there's one more crucial piece we need to discuss. And welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the T3010. We've been through the ins and outs of Schedule 6. We've looked at some practical tips for making sure you file accurately. And now I think it's time to step back a bit
Yeah.
and look at the bigger picture.
I think it's time we talk about the CRA's role in regulating charities and what it means for the whole sector.
Right. We've really been dissecting the details of this form, but let's zoom out and look at the wider context. What does this emphasis on such detailed reporting, particularly on the T3010, tell us about how the CRA approaches regulation?
Well, on one hand, it shows that they're really committed to transparency and accountability in the charitable sector. They're basically saying, we trust you to do good work,
Mm-hmm.
but we also need to make sure you're actually fulfilling your mission and using your resources responsibly.
It's like a system of checks and balances to make sure charities are held to a high standard, especially considering the tax benefits they receive. It's about maintaining public trust and demonstrating that those public funds are being used effectively.
Exactly. When people donate to a charity, they want to know that their money is actually making a difference.
Of course.
The CRA's oversight helps to provide that assurance,
Okay.
and that builds confidence in the sector as a whole.
So it's a way of safeguarding the integrity of the whole system and making sure that charities operate ethically and responsibly. But some people might say that this level of scrutiny, all the complexities of the T3010 and Schedule 6, it puts too much of a burden on charities, especially smaller ones that don't have a lot of resources.
Yeah, that's a fair point. What do you think about that concern?
It's true that compliance can be time-consuming and expensive, and some charities might feel overwhelmed by all the information they have to provide on the T3010,
Right.
especially those dealing with Schedule 6 for the first time. It's like asking a small startup to follow the same reporting rules as a huge corporation.
Yeah.
They might not have the resources or expertise,
Right.
which could make it hard for them to focus on their actual mission.
That's why getting professional guidance can be so helpful.
Mm.
Accountants and lawyers who specialize in charity law can help navigate those complexities
Okay.
and make sure you're in compliance without adding too much extra work. Remember, asking for help isn't a bad thing.
Right.
It actually shows that you're being responsible.
It's about knowing your limits and getting expert support when you need it,
Exactly.
so you can focus on what really matters making a difference. Now, shifting gears a bit, what are some of the broader impacts of the CRA's regulatory approach on the whole charitable sector?
One big impact is that it's really encouraged professionalism in the sector. The focus on transparency, accountability, and compliance
Mm-hmm.
has pushed charities to adopt more rigorous financial management practices and prioritize good governance.
It's like raising the bar for the whole industry,
Exactly.
encouraging charities to operate more efficiently and effectively.
And that ultimately benefits both the charities and the public.
Right.
It makes the sector more credible,
Okay.
which attracts more donors and funders, and it helps ensure that donations are being used wisely to have the biggest impact on the communities they serve.
So it's a win-win.
Exactly.
Now, some might argue that the CRA's approach actually stifles innovation in this sector, that charities might be afraid to try new things or take risks because they're worried about not being compliant. What are your thoughts on that?
It's true that compliance means following the rules,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't necessarily prevent innovation. Many charities have found creative ways to do their work while still complying with the CRA's guidelines.
It's about finding that balance between following the rules and pushing the boundaries,
Right.
being innovative while still maintaining accountability and transparency.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that the CRA isn't stuck in the past. They're constantly reviewing their policies and guidelines, getting feedback from charities and others to make sure they're finding the right balance between regulation and flexibility.
So they're adapting and evolving along with the sector.
Exactly.
That's good to hear. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the T3010, what's the main message you'd like our listeners to take away?
I think the most important thing to remember is that the T3010 isn't just a tax form. It represents a commitment to public trust.
Mm-hmm.
It embodies the values of transparency, accountability, and responsibility, which are at the heart of the Canadian charitable sector.
It's a good reminder that compliance isn't just about avoiding penalties. It's about showing that you're committed to doing things the right way
Right.
and operating in a way that benefits the communities you serve.
Absolutely. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. There are resources and expert guidance available to help charities of all sizes navigate the T3010.
Great advice. So to all our listeners out there, happy filing. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.